All right, so here's the tools that you need for shading, right? We've got our value pencils from our 3H all the way to our 6B. We've got a small cup, which you'll have on your shelf. We can store on the shelf. It's great for holding water when we need it, but it's also great for when you need to sharpen your pencil. You can turn it upside down. You can come in here, and then this catches all of the leftover junk from our sharpening. It is handy to have pencils pre-sharpened because shading with your pencil on its side is really going to do a strong benefit for us when it comes to keeping things smooth when we're shading. Okay. The next thing that you need, you've got your blending stump stick. There's different sizes. People might have different sizes depending on how small of an area you're going in. Okay. And then the other thing I'm going to have you work with is either a blank page in your sketchbook or a scrap piece of paper. I'm kind of working with a scrap piece of paper right now. All right. So there is my drawing of my square that we did in the video, right? I've got the light coming from here, so it's the brightest up on top. I've got, here's our little light source. There we go, right? Coming from up there. So that meant that the box on this side is a little bit more medium. The back side has a lot less light to it. And then the shadow is going to go from super dark, like a 6 pencil, 6B to 4B to 2B. All right, so let's talk about what direction we're going to shade in and how light or how dark. Okay, well, we know this area up here is going to be super light. Now, the H pencils are very, very hard, right? And so when I draw with an H pencil, even in my lightest mode, or even if I turn it on its side, it still is a bit too dark, right? What I'm going to suggest is that we come in on your scrap paper with your HB pencil. So here's my HB pencil. And we're going to make a little bit of a mess on your scrap paper. Yep, just scribble. And notice I'm doing the side of it. All right, so we have a little bit of mess with our HB pencil on our scrap paper or sketchbook page. Now you're going to use your blending stump. I'm going to use this kind of like I'm painting. All right, so I'm going to pick up some of the graphite that I just scribbled down. See how it's on the end of my blending stump. And now I'm going to come over here and very, very lightly put a little bit of shadow down on the paper. You see how light that is, right? I couldn't get anything quite that smooth with a really sharp, pointy end. I think I'm going to put a little bit more on. I'm going to come over here, lift a little bit more up, and then I'm going to get into that corner and just put a little bit more there and let it fade out. Now you can always come back with your eraser. You can clean off edges if you need to, that kind of stuff. All right. Now, which direction did I shade? I was following this line and this line here because they were disappearing off into my A vanishing point. So I am shading at a diagonal going toward that vanishing point. Okay. Now let's look at the medium side. The medium color, right? Doesn't that tend to be something in the HB family, right? Now it's going to be a little maybe richer back here and a little lighter up front. And the direction we're shading now is vertical because we're following this side of the box, which appears to be rather vertical. Next, we're going to do the back wall. Back wall is completely away from the light source, so it's not really getting hardly any light whatsoever. So I'm going to start first with a 2B pencil and then possibly maybe work it up to a 4B pencil to get a little bit darker. Okay, gonna switch over now to the 4B because I need this side and this side to look different. Right now they're a little close. All right, now we can see a difference between this side and this side. Okay, now we're on to the shadow on the table. And the shadow on the table is on a flat surface. The box is sitting on a flat surface. So shadows, whenever we shade them, need to be shaded horizontally, means left to right. Okay, even though there's an angle going on here, this table that the object is sitting on is flat. So we're going to start first with the 6B pencil. We're then going to work down to the 4B and then down to the 2B at the very end. Okay. However, you might need to turn your paper so that you can continue to make horizontal movements. I would strongly suggest doing so because the shadow that is up against the box should be the darkest shadow and the darkest pencil that we use, because I need to make sure that everything up against this line is really dark. Still going horizontal, but I'm getting lighter with my hand movements. See how I'm fading out my pencil? All right, so I'm fading it out. Now I'm going to change over to the 4B. And there we go. So we have a blending stump that we used for the top. We have the HB vertical up and down. We had the 2B and 4B up and down so we could see the difference between those two. And then we have the very dark 6B. You can see it's almost shiny, isn't it? There we go. There's a nice good contrast. You see the 6B is darker up against the box and it fades out. The end.